Can we trust our memories? You are the witness of a crime. You are called to testify, and before any lawyers ask you a question, you are asked, do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? But how can anyone in that courtroom know if what you believe to be true actually happened? This has been a hot topic in psychology over the last few decades. Psychologists have ran numerous experiments to see if your memory can be changed by suggestion and misinformation, and the evidence does not favor your memory. Before anything else, take a look at this video. Now, how fast do you think the cars smashed into one another? You have the memory in your head, and you think you are confident in your answer. However, your memory could have been completely different depending on how the question was phrased. What if I had used the word hit or contacted instead of smashed? According to the results of a study by Loftus and colleagues, your results would have been different. They found that if you used the word smashed instead of the word contacted, your memory of how fast the cars were traveling changed by almost 10 miles an hour. So now you can admit that your memory can be changed for a judgment, like speed, but can your memory be manipulated to the point where you actually remember something that was not there? Shockingly, yes. In another study by Loftus, participants viewed this photograph and were asked a series of questions about it. In one of those questions, they were asked, did the car pass a yield sign? As you can see, the sign in the picture is not a yield sign, but a stop sign. However, after being asked the question, this is not what they remembered. Half an hour later, they were shown two photographs, one with the stop sign and one with the yield sign. Then they were asked to select which photograph they had seen earlier. 59% of the participants who had gotten the misleading question about the yield sign incorrectly guessed the picture that included the yield sign. This same effect has been found with other objects, such as soda cans and screwdrivers, and also has been found in people's hairstyles and facial hair. What is happening here is called source misattribution. You can correctly remember something, but be wrong about the source of that information. For example, in the traffic sign experiment, the participants correctly remembered a yield sign, but were wrong about the source of that information. They believed they had remembered it from the picture, when in reality they remembered it from the questionnaire. One of the more famous cases of this happening was in a speech by Ronald Reagan. In the speech, he told the story of a great act of heroism by a U.S. Navy pilot during World War II. However, reporters couldn't find any evidence that the incident actually occurred. On a closer look, it appeared that the story bore an uncanny resemblance to a scene from the 1940s war movie On a Wing and a Prayer. The same exact thing can happen if you witness a crime. You can remember someone you saw earlier that day in another setting, but misattribute the source of that memory from the other setting you saw him in to believing he was actually the criminal. So what if you didn't just see the crime, but were actually the victim of it or were involved in it? Can your entire memory of that event change? Again, yes it can. Most of the research on this particular question has focused on the validity of recovered memories of childhood abuse. In an effort to attack the validity of these claims, researchers have looked for evidence that as an adult you can create elaborate childhood memories that were in fact completely false.
The famous Lost in a Shopping Mall study showed that adults can in fact create these types of false childhood memories.
In this study, college students were asked to remember details from 4 memories. 3 of the memories were true and provided by family members, while 1 was false and was about being lost in a shopping mall. At a second interview date, they were asked if they could remember each of the events, and 29% of them claimed they could recall being lost in the shopping mall. Even when they were told that one of the memories was fake and were asked to guess which one was, 21 of the participants failed to identify the lost in the shopping mall memory as fake. It is not only distant memories that can be fabricated in this way. In one study, researchers had preschoolers go through a staged visit with a Confederate. After asking the preschoolers suggestive questions in an interview, a month later, 80% of them falsely remembered the Confederate as saying a bad word during the visit.
In addition to the experiments previously mentioned, a number of follow-up studies have been performed on the suggestibility of memories.
They found that if you are shown a photograph or told to imagine an event, you are more likely to incorporate that event into a real memory. Also, if you are repeatedly told details of a misleading event, you are more likely to create a false memory of that event. In addition, memories are more suggestible in people who have heightened emotions or who are under stress. Further, if the person giving you false information is an authority figure, it makes your memory more suggestible.
Also, most of the studies to have large effect sizes in autobiographical memory have been done on children or involve childhood memories.
But that does not mean that any memory that is not a childhood memory is accurate. For example, take the case of the woman who accused Dr. Donald Thompson of rape. When accused, Dr. Thompson, a renowned psychologist, claimed he had never met the woman. Luckily, he had an airtight alibi. At the time the crime took place, he was on live television, ironically talking about his area of expertise, memory distortions. The victim must have seen him on television, and that piece of information completely changed the memory she had of the crime. So your memory is not reliable if you are a witness, and if you remember being the victim of a crime, the memory could either be completely fabricated or greatly changed. However, could you actually remember committing a crime when in reality you were innocent? Here again, your memory can fail you. Of prisoners who were convicted of a crime they did not commit and were cleared using DNA evidence, a whole 23% of them falsely remembered committing the crime even after there was undeniable proof that they were innocent. In an effort to explain these shocking findings, Kazin and Kirchner ran a study to see if they can get college students to remember committing a crime they were completely innocent of. They told their students they were doing an experiment on typing accuracy and had them type up small passages. On the computers they were given, they told the students that if they touched a certain key, the computer would crash and they would be held liable, while in fact, the computer was rigged to crash at a certain point. After the computer crashed, every one of the 17 participants signed a confession admitting they touched the key and caused the computer to crash. In addition, 65% of them admitted guilt to a neutral third party. Later on, they instructed the participants
to remember what keys they had pressed, and 35% of them made up a point in the exercise where they remembered touching the key and incorporated that into their memory. What is even more chilling than this study is to look at the common interrogation methods used by police officers. According to Criminal Interrogation and Confessions, a popular training manual for police officers, when interrogating suspects, interrogators are instructed to show them pictures of the crime, have them imagine viewing the crime as a third party, empathize with their emotions they must have been feeling at the time of the crime, and repeatedly go over the details of the crime. They also go over events of the crime with them in vivid detail, implying they performed the acts. Add the high level of stress present in an interrogation setting and the presence of an authority figure in the police officer, and you get almost all the factors that have been shown to create false memories. Here is a passage taken directly from Criminal Interrogation and Confessions, which is an example of how to conduct an interrogation. Listen, Sam, we know that you used Margie's key to open the safety deposit box, and we know that you left the key by the bell stand after you took the money. We already know that. We also know that you removed the money from the deposit box and removed it from the envelope and threw the envelope away in the trash can down the hall from there. We know all that. What we don't know is how you got the key, and that's important. From what you have learned about false memories through the course of this presentation, isn't it plausible that that statement could create a false memory? Unfortunately, for anyone who's ever been tried for a crime they did not commit, according to psychologist Daniel Simmons, most people who sit on a jury are not aware of the research on false memories.
Police officers are obviously not trying to get false confessions, and current interrogation training manuals even warn readers of the dangers of false confessions. However, it certainly is eerie that the same methods that have been passed down for decades to best get a suspect to confess are the same that have recently been found to elicit false memories. All of this makes you wonder how many people have been convicted based on false recollection of either the witnesses, the victims, or even their own memories.